Problematic faves. We all have them. Who needs them? I most certainly do, because I'm drawing some of them, and I can't do that if I don't have any. Luckily, I've narrowed a long list down to just a couple. It wasn't easy, but I have a few drawings that I think turned out super well. Now that I've gotten your hopes up, let's get into this, so that way that I can disappoint you. I hope that's not true. I don't actually want to disappoint you. Anyways, let's get on to drawing. Alright, so my first problematic fave is Catra from She-Ra, Princess of Power. The newer one made by Netflix, not the 80s version. I haven't seen that one. Although Catra probably could have benefited from some cat-paced puns. Maybe in the movie that I keep wishing would happen. So, if you don't know who Catra is, she is, or was, the protagonist's, Adora's, best friend from when they were living together as soldiers in the Horde. The series goes on, and she kind of goes on a destructive spiral that keeps getting worse. At first it starts with normal antagonist stuff, but goes into more serious problems relating to trust and abuse. She keeps getting more and more desperate and lonely as the show progresses. Throughout this spiral, I just couldn't help think, oh, my poor little kitten. You know, despite her few minor mistakes. Almost destroying the planet, arguably multiple times. But Entrapta is also to blame for part of it. She built the devices, so you can't fully blame the kitty for hitting a string that you dangled right in front of it. There's plenty of videos talking about why Catra is amazing, so you can just look up one of those when you finish with this video, so that way that I don't have to write a video essay about her. Or, you know, you can just watch the show and see for yourself. I had the idea for Catra's drawing come to me almost instantly. I wanted to have this, like, 2-panel, kind of like a t-shirt design or like a poster, maybe something you might see on the front or back of a manga panel or manga book covers. I don't know, it was just a 2-panel idea. The panels are kind of connected by like this very unstable railing pipe thing. On the left panel, I wanted Catra to have a more confident pose in the outfit that she wears during season 1, 2, and I want to say 3 as well. I know her design changes a fair bit in 3, but I'm pretty sure 3 as well. Mainly this specific one because in this point in the show, she tends to act and projects more confidence, or at least in my opinion, during the first 2 seasons is when she does. She may project the same kind of confidence in season 3, but there's also clear points to where she's very clearly started to spiral, and you can tell that that confidence is more anger than anything else. Or at least that's how it felt for me. The second panel is Catra in her season 5 design after escaping the Horde. And for further context, after Adora receives the failsafe. More in my head for that one, because we don't actually see too many moments of her alone. Well, we kind of do. Not in the fright zone, where she's been drawn. And also, I'm not sure if it is called the failsafe. It might be called the failsafe. I'm pretty sure it's the failsafe. Someone can let me know if I'm wrong. For her pose, I wanted her to seem more lonely and exposed, because that's probably closer to what Catra was feeling at that point in the story. And I, of course, tried to make both of the backgrounds be in the fright zone and tie them together. I also wanted the backgrounds to help get the feeling of both confidence and loneliness. So during the first panel, you'll see it's far more of like the railing and the wall, where the focus is clearly on Catra and she's occupying a lot of the space, while in the second panel you have this shot of the fright zone behind her, and she's drawn a lot smaller, and that's not just because of the foreshortening that's kind of the perspective and foreshortening that's kind of consistent across both panels, but also to try and make her feel smaller. Anyways, a funny tangent. For the longest time, I thought that they called the Fright Zone the Freight Zone, and I felt really dumb when I was talking to my friend, and I was like, you know, why do they call it the Freight Zone? And he was like, looked at me with this baffled look and was like, it's the Freight Zone. And I'm like, wait, it is? I thought it was the Freight Zone. I mean, we don't really see them moving any freight, so I don't know why I thought Freight Zone was the best way to describe it, but that's how I did. I don't really know why it's called the Fright Zone either. Probably because that's what it was called in the 80s, but it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, this drawing is complete. Here is my little kitty cat, Katra, in 2 different points in the story. Anyways, let's move on to the next drawing. I had a bit of trouble picking who I wanted to draw for this speed paint, mainly because there's a lot of characters who would be considered problematic favorites, or I would consider to be my problematic favorites. I wanted to do one of like Amity or Hunter or Ida, all from the Owl House, and yes, they're not really antagonists. Well, a bit of Amity and Hunter at some ports of it before their arc begins, but you know, they have a bit of problems before their arc. Sasha from Amphibia, Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, Pacifica from Gravity Falls, and you know, a few others, but it was a hard choice. It was a challenge. I eventually settled on Bakugo from My Hero Academia for a few reasons. One, I'm going to be doing some fan art for the Owl House at some point in the near future. I don't think it'll be a speed paint, maybe it'll be a short speed paint. I could easily record it and give my thoughts about how much I love the Owl House. Now I'm giving myself more work. It might be a speed paint. I was assuming I was just gonna post it to like my Twitter or Instagram, but nope. We're also gonna make a speed paint of it to celebrate, you know, the series finale. I've also done a lot of Amphibia fan art, and I've even made a fan comic, which I honestly postponed this very big project that I've recently gotten started on to work on that because after Amphibia ended, I just really had this idea of Polly and Grime going on an adventure together, and I did it. There's a link in the description. I posted it to YouTube, so that way it was all kind of consolidated in one place. Also, I have just recently caught up with My Hero Academia and wanted to draw Bakugo. I also had an idea for the pose, and it was quite challenging. Before I get into that, I feel like I should acquaint you a little bit with Bakugo if you don't know who he is already. Bakugo is an angry, hot-headed, and, for YouTube's sake, a mean high schooler who is trying to become a hero. His superpower is that the sweat from his palms can be ignited and explode. He doesn't need like an external source, he just ignites them through his power. And that's what causes the explosion. And I'm not gonna lie to you, he does straight up bully the protagonist Midoriya. If you're being nice for the first season, you could easily argue it goes on beyond that to like season 2 and probably into season 3 before, you know, he starts to calm down a bit. But it's also been a while since I've seen those first 3 seasons, or season 4. It's been a while since I've watched it from the beginning, so someone who's more expertly acquainted with the show could probably correct me if, I'm wrong. So yeah, by the end of the show, or closer to the end, the show's not over. I know they're at least going to have a 7th season. He starts to get better. Yeah, at least at bullying. He's still angry and hot-headed, but that's what makes him my sweet child. Honestly, his anger is more of a comedic effect than a malicious one most of the time, except for really at the start of the show. But his character arc is him getting better at that so he can be forgiven. I can't believe I referred to Bakugo as a sweet child. Okay, so on to talking about this sweep pose I did. The triangle you saw me doing in the beginning at the start was a way of setting up a common type of composition. So if you don't really know what I'm talking about, so there's ways to set up composition by dividing your canvas into like a 3x3 type grid, like into thirds vertically and horizontally. And that'll help you get composition, but then there's also compositional shapes that you can use to help make poses feel more actiony or sturdy, that sorts of stuff. Anyways, the triangle kind of helps make things feel a little more actiony. So that's what I was doing with this pose. Actiony might be the wrong word, considering it's not a word, but I'm gonna stick with it. Bakugo in this pose is, of course, falling out of the sky, about to hit something with a blast of his sweat bombs, because that's basically his power. I think the show calls this quirk Explosion, but I think Sweat Bombs would be a better name. You should consider changing that. Can I write the author? I also wanted the shot to feel like it could be something out of a frame of the anime, or a colored version of a manga panel, or maybe even something that you could see in the intro, or at least a stylized version of that. My art style isn't exactly like Kohei Horikoshi. I think it turned out well though. The hardest bits weren't the foreshortening actually, but he was figuring out what direction his legs were gonna be at, because I wanted to make sure that it kind of fit roughly in that triangle, and I didn't want him to be flopping around all over the place, but also there was a few times where I'm like, legs shouldn't bend like that. Fortunately, I think I was able to get it into the end. My only regret is that I didn't add a lens flare. I think that would have made it look better. Maybe I'll add a lens flare while I'm editing the video. I could add a lens flare. That might be really good, actually. Well, I suppose when I'm showing the final render, which should be appearing now for you, you'll find out if I put in a lens flare or not. We'll see. I'll mess around with it and see what I can do. Anyways, that's it for these 2 drawings. Before I go, I wanted to give a quick update on my schedule. That's in quotes because I don't have a hard schedule for what I do with YouTube. I do try my best to upload once every 2 weeks, but that might not be possible for a while. That's because I'm starting the actual drawing of a comic series that I'm hoping to get published at some point, and that takes up a lot of my time outside work. This was the project that I was talking about earlier when I was saying I was postponing something. I actually finished with the scripting and thumbnailing finally, so I'm actually able to start drawing it. So yeah, this just takes up a lot of time outside of work, so I have less time to draw other things. Who knows? Maybe it won't actually affect anything, and I'll be able to figure out a way to get it to work, but I also might not. So if things turn out to be more like once a month or once every 3 weeks, that's why. Anyways, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more stuff like this. Ring the bell so that way that you can get notified when I upload. If you have any drawing suggestions, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. See you next time. Bye.